Hi everybody, this is Dan Stolbarger. Welcome to this week's KFIR Middle East update, and my, oh my, what a week. Just a reminder that there is a PDF PowerPoint that accompanies this particular YouTube, so make sure you grab that. But as usual, we'll jump right into our news bites. Of course, major news in the Middle East is the assassination of the nuclear scientist, which is actually the Brigadier General of the Iranian Revolutionary Forces. Remember that. But Iranian leaders have repeatedly threatened to wipe Israel off the face of the map. And at the tip of the spear is the scientist named Fakhradah. And he ran the nuclear program to give Tehran the weapon that can actually carry out that threat. The Saudis have gone on record to say that killing the top Iranian nuclear scientists, they're condemning any critics of this. They say the elimination of this man, the father of the Iranian nuclear bomb, was a service to mankind. Bahrain and the Emirates and that have sort of condemned this. Again, Israel has not taken credit for it, but interestingly enough, the Saudis have come out and basically said this has been a gift and shaking their fist at any critics. The Obama administration, we'll talk a little bit about them possibly preempting Biden, but they've criticized the killing as well. We have a couple of articles on this assassination that we'll get to, but just breaking news sort of thing. Just give you an idea of the world opinion and all of this. The European Union has condemned this act as well. And we're seeing more and more the rise of anti-Semitism. Make no mistake about it, it is happening in our midst. Who knows what's going to take place if and when Biden does, take over? Again, Trump being the greatest president, at least of the United States, a friend to Israel since Harry Truman. But on the other side, we have the Obama administration, which, as you know, Biden was the vice president of. And they're exactly the opposite as far as friends to Israel. So we'll have to wait and see about everything that transpires. Again, keeping with our news bites, as you know, we talked in weeks past about one of the PA officials in Ramallah who basically decided after getting COVID that the best care for him would be at Hadassah in Israel. And we know that he had opportunities for hospitals in Ramallah as well as Jordan. But as much of a critic as he was of Israel, that's where he went to get help. It'll be interesting to find out what happens to the new head of Hamas in Gaza, Yahya Sinwar, because now it has been leaked that he's tested positive for COVID-19. So don't be surprised if the head of Hamas seeks medical attention, that's right, in Israel. Now, despite, this is never reported, but despite a long, intense relationship with the Palestinians, Israel will allocate 3 to 4 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines to the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. Again, this just shows Israel's willingness to provide the Palestinians and the Hamas terror group with humanitarian aid. As I mentioned, I haven't seen that reported anywhere else but on news sources that I receive from Israel. With everything that's going on, the head of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, is looking over his shoulder because he probably realized he just might be next. And word is now that he's taken refuge outside of Lebanon and is trying to find safety in Iran. But what's taken place the last couple months in Iran, I'm not sure that's any safer than in his bunker in Lebanon. And then, you know, as I mentioned, these are the news bites, so we kind of pop all over the place. Make no mistake about it, if Biden is the new president-elect, he is promising that his administration will be the most LGBTQ affirming in the history of the United States. And I just bring this up because we cannot keep our head in the ground. We need to understand the times in which we're living, become like the sons of Issachar, understand the times and know what we should do. I do believe that there is troubling skies and dark times ahead of us. But in the midst of all this, let's always remember that Jesus is the light of the world. Amen? All right, let's jump in. We have sent the USS Nimitz, our aircraft carrier. We're sending bombers to the Persian Gulf. We have reports that the Nimitz and its strike group has returned to the Persian Gulf region. The deployment of the Nimitz, of course, ensures that we have sufficient capability available to respond to any threat, to deter any adversity, our adversary from acting against our troops. Also, it puts us in an offensive position as well. We've sent heavy bombers to the Middle East. There's a big question. What will Trump do in the remaining days of his tenure, his administration? There is some concern that Trump will take action. Israel is on alert. The IDF has been instructed to prepare for the possibility that the U.S. will conduct military strikes against Iran before Trump leaves offices. This, coupled with the Nimitz and these heavy bombers, we may be days, weeks away from a military strike. Back to the assassination. The alleged head of Iran's nuclear weapons program, as you know, was assassinated last Friday near the capital of Tehran. I'm sure I'm going to butcher his name, but Dr. Mohsen Fakhrizadeh. He was a professor of physics, but always keep in mind, not a humanitarian. This guy was an officer, a brigadier general in the Revolutionary Guard. And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in 2018 singled him out. He said, remember this man's name, the head of the nuclear program in Iran. And so the question is going to be, what's next? What's going to transpire? The death of the nuclear program chief, according to the Iranians, will not stop their progress. We will respond to the assassination at a proper time. We're not going to fall into the trap of the Zionist. We're thinking that they're just going to create chaos at this time, but both Iran, the EU, and others have condemned this hit as a criminal act. In the chatter that's come out from this, Iran is basically threatened to respond to this killing by hitting the city of Haifa, a major port and power plant that's there. It's often been the subject of threats made by Hezbollah, Iran's proxy in Lebanon. No doubt they have in the weaponry, the guided rockets and missile systems to hit Haifa. And so we don't know if this is just empty threats, sabers rattling, or if there will be a planned attack. Such an attack our strike would likely draw an immediate Israeli retaliation and spark a wider conflict across the Middle East. Back to Trump, we've been told that Trump has told his generals, you can do whatever you need to do, just don't start World War III. Wow, what times we're living in. Interestingly enough, there's an article that came out that I've included here for you to read, that this assassination that took place was all done by, you ready for this? Robots. According to the FARS news agency, this is the way that they've reported what actually took place. This nuclear scientist was driving near Tehran in a bulletproof car with a large protective team alongside of him, 3 other vehicles. At one point, it sounded like gunshots struck the car, which pulled the car over, thinking that they might have collided with something, possibly engine trouble. And at that moment, a remote-controlled machine gun fired a volley of bullets at him from a Nissan nearby. He was struck twice in the side, once in the back, severing his spinal cord. One of the bodyguards then threw himself on top of him. He was shot several times, and shortly after, the Nissan exploded. So FARS claims that the entire assassination was done by robots, with no actual human beings present on the hit team. You see the graphic there. It's popular in Israel, where you see the Mossad logo and it basically said, Mossad, it's never an accident. Well, let's keep on going. There's an article here about Obama possibly preempting Biden. A lot of the administration that Biden's putting together, national security teams, etc., are sort of being picked out of the former Obama administration. And so they've criticized this attack. And it almost feels like Obama's criticism is elbowing Biden out of the way. You can read that for yourself. Interesting article here about Alexa. The Amazon launched a probe on Friday after a group of British lawmakers accused Alexa, its virtual assistant, of peddling anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. A group of lawmakers in the UK were appalled with some of Alexa's answers to questions about Jews. Here's a couple. When asked if Jews happen to control the media, Alexa declared that according to the so-called Jewish Watch, they control not just the media, but also the world's financial systems. Another example cited by lawmakers saw Alexa take on the question of whether the Holocaust was a hoax, to which Alexa replies with a quote from another article saying that Holocaust deniers claim that this is a complete historic distortion and a hoax. Alexa. Not asking her any questions anymore. Okay, one more thing is that we have is another Israeli strike just today. A commander of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps was killed in an airstrike at the Golan Syrian-Israeli border. Again, this was recently reported. According to the report, the identity of the commander who's been killed and 3 other men is they're not releasing the name, but they are making the statement that this did take place. Keep in mind that this incident comes on the heels of this assassination. And again, the officer said that the Iran-backed Iraqi militias are the ones that help retrieve the bodies. So boom, boom, and boom. It's continuing to go on. So these are perilous times, troubling times that we're living in. We need to keep our eyes open. We need to understand what's taken place. And we need to be like the sons of Issachar. Understand the times and know what we should do about them. God bless you. Shalom.